All right, welcome back. Now today I want to go over my top 10 list of pros and cons for the new hybrid game from Aruze Gaming. It's the Roll to Win Craps. Now here's a little overview of what the new table looks like. Quick little background. Now all your betting's done on the computer screen, just like if you were playing on your iPhone or your iPad or something, or your computer screen online, same kind of betting. If you need additional help, there's also buttons on there, I think, to bring up the rules and stuff like that. When you first walk up to your machine, make sure you put in your player's card. There's a slot next to a digital keypad just under the screen, just like if you're playing those digital slot machines. So enter the player's card and leave it in there. It should turn green or blue or something. Be sure that you keep an eye on that player's card. I know that I was playing for a long time, and then when I looked down under the screen, because it's hard to see from my angle, that it went to red. Sometimes there's some computer error and it miscommunicated and lost that I was actually playing. So I lost out on a bunch of credit. So be sure to keep peeking down at your player's card and make sure it's still green and knows it's you playing. One cool aspect is that you can customize your player name. When you go up to your screen, I think there's an option somewhere to enter your player name. And what happens on that is on the table surface, on the main player surface, if you look up and over, it has every, like player 1, player 2, player 3. But if you change your name, it'll actually put your name up there. So definitely, like on mine, I'd have Toothpick out there on the table surface. After you put your player's card in and it recognizes you, go ahead and either take your cash money or your previously paid out receipts, and you can put it in the money slot, which is probably located in between you and the next player, like under your cup holder area there. Go ahead and just enter in or slide in your money, and it should add to your computer screen. Now the main table surface, you can see when people place their different bets, there's actually like a shooting comment line of their bet from that player across the field and putting their bets out there. So it's kind of cool that way. Then you have along the back wall under the dealer is a display of, what the past numbers were, just like on the roulette table where they have the last 20 numbers rolled. Same thing here. So if you want to keep track of your numbers, how many times the 7 popped up, how many times you had winners, whatever, or how long this dealer's been shooting, that's the kind of information you can get off that back wall. All right, on the pro side, let's start off with number 10, and that's this new table usually comes in with lower table minimums. When I was there at Planet Hollywood on the first weekend that they had the table open, it was $10 minimum. All the other regular normal tables were up at like $15 or $25. So even now, we're in the mid-summer of 2021. I've heard rumor of even one place that had the electronic tables at $5 minimum. I don't recall what place I was, but comparatively, $10 is a good minimum entry point. Number 10 on the con side, learning curve. There's definitely a learning curve playing this new software-based game versus when you're just talking to the dealer live. So first thing I would recommend before you start placing bets, when you walk up to your player station and that screen, the first thing you should do is learn where the cancel button or the undo, learn where that is. That way, if you ever get in a pinch and you accidentally place a wrong bet, you can just cancel, or undo. That's what I would recommend anytime you walk up to any of these computerized games. Learn the undo button feature first before you start putting your actual hard-earned money out on the table surface. Quick little side story. I did have one time at Planet Hollywood, table was full, And then you get the one guy coming up with a stack of cash, trying to be Mr. Show Off, comes in, throws his stack of cash down on the table surface, and everyone just like confused looking at him. And he looks up and then realizes that there's no chips at the table, and he totally looked like a complete buffoon. Number 9 on the pro side is the timer. Now, we don't have to worry about getting stalled out. People doing long betting processes and unsure and asking questions. No, that timer hits, which might be like 45 seconds, whatever it's set to for that casino. And when that timer hits, they pass you the dice and the shooter can shoot. Number 9 on the con side is also the timer. When that countdown hits 0, if you don't actually have a bet down on that pass line, the computer's not gonna know that you want to shoot the dice. So they're just gonna skip you. It'll go all the way around and go to the first person that has a pass line bet down when that counter hits 0. So make sure you're on the ball and you don't slack off. If you want to shoot and the other shooter just finished his turn, make sure you get that pass line or don't pass bet down there right away. It's not gonna be like a real table where they'll ask you, sir, do you want to shoot? Do you want to shoot? No. You hit 0. If you're not on the ball, you're skipped. I've been a victim of that one time. You learn after one time. Another side tangent. When the shooter gets 7 rolls and still going, the game automatically kicks into hot shooter. And the whole table surface can go into big flames, or I've seen it one time where it changes into like a big, the background is now space and it's all stars and stuff. And then there's subwoofers and speakers built into the table, and the music sounds like a big rave nightclub, thuk, 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 and you're kind of feeling it. You can go either way on your perception of that, because one, it can get distracting, and if you're in that other craps electronic game, the one where press the button, that voice gets so annoying. Press the button, press the button. Press the button. So this can get a little bit like that. There's a few of us at the table after, an hour or two, we're playing, and the hot shooter got really annoying. But, it's all good, all for fun. But it just made a little side tangent note for wanted to share with you on this list. Number 8 on the pro side is there's 10 players or 10 positions around the table. So this is good there's still plenty of people at the table to play, but it gives you enough space in between each station so that, you're not have to be crammed up against people you don't know or the drunk guy or whatever it is. So it's set maximum 10 people at a table. Number 8 on the con side is if you're a dice setter, it's especially difficult if you're short. So basically at the player station, it's the normal table height for where your coin rack would be. But now with the computer screen and all the computerized stuff there, you got a thickness of about, 10 inches maybe, that now you got to lean all the way across. So now if you are already having a problem reaching over the chip rack down onto the table surface, which is another 11 inches, and then, shooting your dice, setting your dice, shooting your dice, that's a whole lot more distance your body length and your arm has to cover to go up and over the display screen, across, back down, all the way to the table surface. So if you're a shorter player, you might have a little bit more of a problem shooting the dice in a consistent manner that you're used to on a normal table. Another side tangent, on this version of the Roll to Win game, they still offer the biggest sucker bet ever in craps. Now, if you've been on the table for a while, you might have you're probably guessing different things, what it could be, which prop bet or specialty bet. But for me, the biggest sucker bet is the big 6 and 8, which is just placed right there in the corner, in the bucket area, mixing bowl, as you will, in that corner for players to normally, self-bet and put their own bets down on a real table. But on an electronic version, seems a little pointless because you're doing everything right on the screen anyway. So if you ever placed your money on the big 6 or 8, you should leave from the table from betting you should leave the casino right away, because right just what, 6-7 inches away, you do a place bet for a 6 and 8 and it's a better pay. Whatever. Anyway, that's the biggest sucker bet, and I found that entertaining as well on this version of the game. Number 7 is you don't have to make exact bets. Your 6 and 8s can be just $5 increments. So if you're just doing progressive, doubling up on your hits and your wins, you don't have to do increments of $6, $6. It pays you out exactly, just like a computerized game. So that's very helpful if you're slower and you don't have the math already in your head for the game. So number 7 was you don't have to make proper bets. Number 7 on the con side, no specialty bets. I find this as a bummer because I like to play all tall, small, or whatever, fire bet or repeater. None of that is on this version of the Roll to Win. So it's just a standardized betting table. So it's kind of a bummer. But they still got all the prop bets in the middle of the table, all your hard ways and stuff like that. So just remember again that all those prop bets in the center, if they hit, they automatically come down, even if you win. Just remember that. Number 6 on the pro side, say you're on a long roll, you don't get interrupted by them having to bring money and restock the bank. No fills in the electronic game, so that's always a plus. Number 6 on the con side is comps and payouts. Now with the comps, this is considered more of a slot machine type of thing versus the comps that you would earn at a regular craps table. So just keep that in mind. You spend whatever it is per hour at the ETG, electronic table game, the roll to win version, that's going to earn you less comps than if you're at the normal craps table. Now with payouts, obviously you don't have chips going back and forth, so you can't color up at the end, but no, they give you the printed receipts, just like the electronic, normal slot machines and stuff like that. So you get a printed receipt at the end, which if you're like me, I'm not a big fan of walking around with the receipts stuff, but you can walk up to the table at the beginning and put, your receipts in just like any other computerized slot machine now. It's all back for same thing. It's the same brain work in that machine as well. So comps and payouts, number 6 on that cons list. Another situation I noticed when I was out there, again, with all this cleaning of the dice and stuff on the normal tables, this casino I was at had 2 dice. That's it. They weren't even cleaning them in between users, in between shooters. And they weren't even letting you select between 5 different dice. So we had 2. And, it is possible for the dice to still go off the table. And it's kind of weird, but maybe that's just casino to casino. It was new at that place. So it was just an interesting anecdote for that one. Number 5 on the pro side is that if you're an introvert or you don't have that outgoing personality, you just want to, keep to yourself, play the craps game, not have to interact with dealers and talk and all that and converse and stuff. If you're more of a bubble craps player and you like just playing by yourself and watching the game and just chilling out and having your drink, this is a positive because you can just stick to yourself and not have to interact with anybody if you don't want to. But even more realistic if you like to shoot compared to these bubble craps machines or some of these completely electronic games. I personally stay away from the fully electronic with the digital dice. But anyway, this roll to win version, this hybrid version, might be the thing you really enjoy. Not going all the way to the full table, but not wanting to sit down at a bubble craps, or even it's full, the bubble craps. So you want to sit, maybe you want to throw your dice, but still play the electronic version, or maybe you get visually intrigued by much more of the flashing lights and all the action that's going on the table in the computerized world. So that might be a plus for you. Number 5 on the cons list is dealers. When the shooter rolls the dice, you have to wait for the dealer to physically and literally enter in what the 2 dice rolled into his little iPad type thing, and then it's registered into the system. So then you wait. Then all the other players can actually see what's displayed, on the table surface. All boom, boom, here's your number. But there's like the intensity is not there. You don't know if you hit your numbers. Sometimes you're just waiting a few seconds. Like, what did it roll? What did it roll? Oh, 8. Okay, cool, yay. So sometimes that little delay can be kind of a bummer over time. There's no like just yelling out the number right off the bat. Maybe you'll have some of the players yell a number, maybe that'll help you get by. So there you go. So that's one thing about it. Another thing that you'll hear a lot from other people that have played, or even just off first appearance, they don't even know what they're talking about yet, is that there's no interaction or very limited interaction with you and the dealer, which can be true. There's only one dealer and they're focused on entering that number. But if you have that outgoing personality, if you have, you and your friends are all outgoing, you can embrace and bring in the dealer into the emotion and the excitement. So it's kind of up to you to have to pull it out of them, because they're going to be just focused on, the display, entering the numbers, passing dice, and they could get bored easily. But no matter what, yes, there is definitely less interaction with the dealers. So that might be enough to like really put this con on the cons list for you. When I was playing at Planet Hollywood for the first weekend that this table's open, they had 2 dealers basically working the stick and the computer screen for training, getting an experience on the table. But they both had little interaction with the players, and they were both involved so much with themselves. Like so many times, this is what the 2 dealers at the table reminded me of. They had their own little thing going, their communication, they're joking around, but it didn't really involve the other players too much. So again, this is on the con side, was with the dealers. Time-saving tip for you here. Now, if you're not used to playing, craps games on your phone or your tablet, your iPhone, iPad, then you might not be used to the thought process on how to place your bets. So you might find yourself hesitant and reaching down to the bottom and getting the different values and slowly dragging it to each of your bet, and then boom, the timer's up and they're already playing. So here's a little tip to get your betting down a little bit more speedier. At the bottom where it has the different coin values, you can pick, tap your $25 coin, and now you can go, instead of dragging that coin up to each of your different places that you want to put the bet, tap your $25 value or whatever the value, 5, and then whatever you tap on next of your place bets or any of your other bets, that value coin, that chip is getting placed in all of them. So that's much faster. Hit $5, boop, 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 done. Versus $5, drag it, let go, drag it. No, time saver. When you're on a crunch and have to do, you got 45 seconds or something to get all your bets in, you need to be fast. So pick your value, hit the bets you want. They instantly go up there. Go to additional values or your $1 chip to add your additional values, whatever. But it's much faster than dragging it. So that's a helpful tip. Number 4, on the pro side, if you're a dice setter, you might like this a little bit. The table surface replicates more of a hard table surface. So the table is kind of like a glass, plastic kind of hybrid combination. And obviously for your screen, kind of like iPads and stuff. But if you like to have bounce, you like the cushion on there and how some of those other tables will bounce your dice off the table. If you like the bounce or more used to a bouncier surface, this might not be for you. But a lot of shooters will like the hard surface. So this can be adapted to kind of easy. So that's kind of a cool aspect. But also, there is an effect with this table surface where if you're doing your shot, the dice can sometimes dig in and kind of stick a little bit more than a traditional surface. So the energy of your dice moving might stick and die and not actually make it to the far wall. So you got to watch out for that, because you always got to hit both dice to that back wall or they'll really get on you. Con number 4 is there's no way you can play tips for the dealers. That's a huge bummer. I always put out bets on place bets, on the pass line, give the dealers some action. And then plus, giving them a little help, giving them a little effort for all their work. You know, yeah, the work is a little different now on this table, but still, that's a bummer. It needs to be an upgrade in the system software on their next version. They need to be able to play action and place bets down for the dealers. Yes, in the top right corner, there is a tip button. So if you're new to the game, be aware there is a tip button in the corner. Go ahead and hit that. And when you send a direct amount, it's an immediate, donate tip box. It goes right to the toke. Goes right to their toke box. But anyway, make sure you do that. Hit a tip, send your tips to the dealer. Unfortunately, again, it's kind of like they may or may not recognize it. They may or may not thank you. They may, there's so much on their screen and they're paying different stuff, paying attention and going on the table surface. They might not know that this little thing is like, oh, here, you got a little tip from this guy. And then, so anyway, there is something that pops up on their screen, but it's not as big as like, here, I'm putting a bet down. Let's go cheer for you. Nah, it's a little different. So that's the bummer on this con. There's no tip action. Another side note, it could have been, when I was at Planet Hollywood and they're just unveiling the game that weekend, they had very strict rules on your dice, if you're shooting, hitting that back wall. If both dice didn't hit the wall, they were very strict on doing a no shot, no roll. No roll. Maybe things now have lightened up now that it's been several months of the game and more of the games are hitting the streets in Las Vegas. So maybe they've chilled out on that and giving you a little bit more opportunity, especially with the table surface where it's a little bit tacky if the edges of the dice dig into the table on landing zones. So hopefully, they chilled out on that, but just be aware that it's possible that you'll find more stricter watching and rules for hitting that back wall compared to the other tables of the normal surface. Coming in at number 3 on the pro side is table length. If you're a dice setter, you might actually like this one a lot. Now, the table is about 10 foot, maybe 12, but I think about 10 feet long. Now, typically, if you're shooting from stick left 1 or stick right 1, you're about 8 feet or so. But because this table doesn't have that stick man sitting in between you on that side of the table, you were brought in. And so shooting from stick man 1 or stick right 1 or stick left 1 is actually closer. It's only about 6 feet you're shooting to the wall. So that's pretty crazy. So if you're a dice setter, shooting from the inside positions on stick left 1, stick right 1, you're only about 7 feet, 6 feet to that back wall. It's like the shortest distance ever. So that could be a really good advantage if you're a dice setter. Number 3 on the con list, kind of already covered a little bit. It's that damn annoying voice of hot shooter. But even more than that is throughout the game, you'll hear the voice and it's just trying to upsell you on bets. And so that got really annoying, really annoying. Like if I had a dealer that kept pushing me, it's like, dude, just chill out. I don't want those bets. If I want it, I'll give it to you. But you got to keep hearing it. It's just in your ear through the speaker. So if it's music's pumping, you got a hot shooter going, it's going to keep pushing you to put more bets down. So, okay, we're a trapped audience in this case, but whatever. That comes in on my number 3 on the con list. Number 2. Now, compared to a normal table, if you had 10 players at the table and you were a dice setter and you only like stick left 1 or stick right 1, now with this electronic version, on the flip side of the table, next to that center dealer still, they've let you wrap around further than a normal table. So there's essentially, you could be shooting from 2 different spots if you're a stick left shooter or a stick right shooter of that first position. So it's kind of cool, a little bit more opportunity. If you're like me, sometimes you go into a crowded table or go to another casino and your favorite spot, no openings whatsoever. So this kind of table might be an advantage for you, have more possible openings for your favorite shooting spot. Number 2 on the cons list is Speed bumps. So if you're looking down at the table surface, you might see that there's like a seam almost that is going from, I don't say back wall because that's not right, but the long sides of the table, so going across the shorter sides of the table, you'll see usually maybe 2 seams or 2 lines. Now, typically they could be 2 lines cutting the table, if this is the length of the table, cutting it into thirds. So 2 speed bumps, and that's to prevent some trickery on shooting and some people trying to spin or slide the dice. So there's speed bumps on there. Okay, cool. But I've noticed that some casinos, they've actually, when they've applied these speed bumps, they didn't put 2 all the way across. They put they cut each of those strips in half and kind of made them off center each other. So now it's kind of weird. It's this S kind of shape if you're trying to avoid all the speed bumps. So if you're shooting from the ends, here's one bad thing. If you're shooting from the ends, if you're at one edge of the table, shooting longwise across, your landing zone may not have the speed bump when they're shifted. So, but if you're at the other position, at the bottom part of the table, and now shooting that same distance, now there's a speed bump. So it's so if you're shooting in the middle of the table, you might get both speed bumps kind of misaligned. I don't know, whatever. Keep the speed bumps the same, keep them in, that's fine. But anyway, speed bumps are annoying. Plus, speed bumps, if they're too close to that back wall, not only can they affect when you're shooting your landing zone and going into the wall, the speed bumps can play into effect. But when they hit the wall and come back, now it's another time that you gotta worry about hitting the speed bumps. No matter if you're into the belief of advantage shooting or not, speed bumps will affect your dice. So that's always a bummer just in general. One of my biggest suggestions though, for their next version of the software, if it gets to that point, same bet button. A lot of times, depending on the type of betting you're doing, if they hit, like the prop bets especially, if you hit one of your prop bets like the hard way, that whole bet comes down. It's not just collect the winnings and your bet still stays up there. With the real dealers, they know that they'll ask you, or they'll typically leave at least the same bet still up there. So be careful on this version of Roll to Win Craps. The bets that are up there, if they hit, it comes completely down. So it might get rolled again a second time, and if you didn't know that, you lose out because you didn't have that bet back up on that prop bet or whatever. So be careful that we need to have an easy way of just doing same bets so that all those same bets come back up. Coming in on the pro side at number 1, no landmines. There's no chip stacks to hit on the table. There is no hands that are reaching in late, and you end up hitting those with your shot. Nothing. There's no obstacles in the table for the most part. So that was why that was number 1 on my pro side. And taking my number 1 position on the cons list for Roll to Win Craps is maintenance of these machines. While I was out there for a week, I'd seen multiple casinos that had the game, and there's always one machine either being worked on or was turned off, or the light was on as a not in service type of message on there. I've heard it so many times from other people that have played around the country. They always, either the whole system is down or they only had one machine that was not working. It's just very common that these displays or the table surfaces, the game, something's wrong. So maintenance is a big issue with this new game. Whether or not they had time to do a big quality control testing on this game, I can't see how, with all the pressure and stress and banging that people are doing on these display screens, can't imagine them not breaking. It's just, and they move, they're flimsy a little bit. It's like computer screens basically. So with people leaning on them all the time, and you have to lean on them to get across to your game anyway, to throw the dice or to look over to see the rest of the table, they're going to constantly break. There's going to be stuff wrong all the time. So that was my biggest con, is just maintenance and these games constantly going down. It's the common feature. Okay, so that's my top 10 pros and cons for this roll to win craps game. Whether you're a traditional craps player or you're addicted to the bubble craps machines, you know, I would say go ahead and try it. Go ahead, walk up, at least watch, you know, a little bit, have some people playing and watch the game. But I think you'll enjoy it. Give it a shot once. Let me know what you think down in the comments here. Thanks for taking the time and watching this video. And you know what? I'll see you at the table.